You're scrolling through Instagram and see your friend's post from their latest vacation. Or maybe it's a colleague who just hit their fitness milestone. Your immediate thought? I should be doing more. In a world where more often equates to success, when do we pause to ask, is this really what I need? Let's detour for a moment. In the 1800s, as steam engines and factories came into play, humanity witnessed a seismic shift. Before the Industrial Revolution, work was more communal, a shared endeavor for survival. A loaf of bread was a loaf of bread. There were no luxury brands. The concept of more was relatively simple: a better harvest, enough food, a stable shelter. But once we mechanized labor, something insidious crept into our collective psyche: the deification of productivity. Capitalism didn't just change the way we worked, it fundamentally altered how we perceived success. Icons like Elon Musk, who brags about his 80-hour workweeks, set the standard for what's admired in our culture. But at what cost? Over the last century, we've seen a dramatic surge in burnout, stress disorders, and lifestyle-related illnesses. It's not just a trend, it's an epidemic, and it doesn't discriminate. From Wall Street moguls to Etsy crafters, the strain of constant output impacts us all. In a world that glorifies the notion of hustle culture, we've become disciples of a dangerous mantra: grind now, live later. We look at an overflowing pantry and think, why not stock up more? Yet that surplus often rots away, embodying the essence of excess that pervades our lives. The numbers don't lie. We discard more food than it would take to nourish those who go to bed hungry. The sheer absurdity of this reality stings, doesn't it? Consider it a symptom of a broader sickness, a life fixated on the more. What's the quota you've set for yourself? How high is that bar? Here's the twisted irony. The loftier your ambitions, the more arduous the climb becomes. A toxic spiral where the competition isn't just external. It's a battle with your own amplified expectations. Suddenly, work doesn't clock out. It seeps into every waking hour, feeding on your vitality, relationships, and dreams. All in the name of what? Success? But let's examine that. What are you truly chasing? Is it the vision of a future so sparkling that it justifies sacrificing the now? Hustle or perish becomes the drumbeat of our existence. You push past fatigue, avoid friends, neglect loved ones, and muzzle your innermost desires, all to hit some abstract milestone that promises fulfillment. Guess what? That promised utopia of made it never really arrives. The goalposts keep shifting. You break one ceiling and suddenly there's another, higher and harder to crack. It's an infinite game, and not the kind that enriches you. The sacrifice becomes the norm, a self-inflicted grind where stress is a trophy and burnout a badge of honor. Here's the gut punch. This whole machinery operates on the fallacy that your worth is tied to your output. But can a number, a title, or a bank balance encapsulate your complexities, your talents, your passions, your relationships? No, it can't. And it's high time to redefine what success means on our own terms. Take my own journey. Creating content isn't a 9-to-5 gig. It's a never-ending loop of brainstorming, scripting, editing, and engaging. If I'm not producing, I feel like I'm falling behind, missing out, failing. A weekend off? Sounds like a myth, an elusive fantasy because the algorithm never sleeps, and neither can I, right? Wrong. Because here's the thing. The more we chase is a constantly moving target. Behavioral economists call this the hedonic treadmill. You sprint to reach a goal, only to find another one waiting for you. Ever heard of people who win the lottery and end up miserable? There's a reason for that. The momentary euphoria of more can't sustain long-term happiness. You can't chase your way to contentment. You have to build it. So how do we rewire this embedded mindset? How do we escape the cycle? It begins with self-awareness. You need to get real about what enough means for you. Not what society says, not what Instagram influencers portray, but your own version of enough. Let's break this down with actionable steps. Start by auditing your life. What are your monthly expenses? How much do you need to feel secure? Once you have those numbers, look at your work hours. Are you clocking in more time than needed? If you find that you're overworking for extra income that you don't actually need, consider scaling back. Time, after all, is the most finite resource you have. Alternatively, if you're scraping by and constantly stressed about making ends meet, it's time to rethink your income strategy. Could you negotiate a raise? Is there a side gig that aligns with your skills and passions? The objective here isn't to maximize income, but to optimize life. It's a balance, not a race. For me, this epiphany came when I compared my net income to my net spending and my expenditures to what I value in life. It was enough to cover my bills, fulfill my needs, and even stash away some savings. I didn't need to spend extra hours at another job to pad my bank account. I could afford to take that risky plunge into doing what I love full-time, confident that it would sustain me. Knowing you're enough is liberating. It disentangles you from the mirage of societal expectations and lets you chart your own path. Instead of succumbing to ceaseless wanting or toxic comparisons, you find contentment in your current state. You learn to value what you have, rather than pining for what you don't. The takeaway? Enough isn't a destination. It's an ongoing dialogue with yourself. It's a recalibration of your values, a quiet rebellion against a culture that profits from your discontent. When you recognize you're enough, you're not just surviving, you're thriving. And now, as we question the fabric of our desires, another challenge lurks around the corner, the perilous trap of perfection. How has this unattainable ideal infiltrated every aspect of our lives? And how can we break free? Stay tuned, because we're about to unmask the illusion that keeps us all enchained.